Good morning and welcome to the Rockfire Resources PLC investor presentation. That is a recorded presentation. Investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged, can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just click Q&A, scroll to the bottom, type your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question received during the meeting itself. However, review all questions submitted today and publish responses where appropriate to do so. Before we begin, we'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to David Price, CEO. Good morning.
G'day, how are you? And welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining me today. So Rockfire Resources, it's quite a unique position for our company, and one that was completely unexpected. As our one of the managers in Dubai, Craig Preston, said that Rockfire is probably the only company in the world that was drilling for zinc in Greece and ended up finding a gold refinery in Dubai. So I thought that was quite apt and actually highlights how unique Rockfire is in the position we find ourselves today. I think that's something that the investors can take away with a tremendous positive, that in fact Rockfire is looking at buying a gold refinery in Dubai, and that doesn't mean to say that we will detract from any of the other work that we're doing. But what it means is that Rockfire is assuming that all goes well with our due diligence. We'll end up owning 100% of a very historic and very unique gold refinery in Dubai. And I wanted to focus on this today because it's quite a big story, and it's quite exciting for the management. It's quite exciting for the refinery. And of course, it's quite exciting for all of our investors. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the history of how we ended up here in this position. A number of people have said that they were surprised by this transaction and the announcement that we had made to the stock exchange. And I wanted to give you a little bit more background of how we find ourselves in this position. And back in June, Rockfire was approached by an investor in Dubai to be able to invest into Rockfire. They liked the story in Moly, of course, with the critical minerals, and they took part in a placement back in July. Now, since that time, the investor has suffered unwarranted attention and has approached Rockfire and said, would you be interested in buying the gold refinery in Dubai? So we looked at the gold refinery, and we found that it's actually a really great business. It's a tremendously run business. The management is excellent. The people working in the refinery are absolutely brilliant. They're an amazing group of people. And of course, it's a very good business. And as you'll see from our actual RNS back in about 4 weeks ago now, they had processed 3.8 million ounces of gold during 2022 and 1.26 million ounces of silver. So there's an enormous throughput in the actual operations. They had revenues of 3.9 billion pounds, and that is an amazing business for Rockfire to be buying into. And we're very proud of that, that this opportunity has come along. So of course, as management of Rockfire, we said that's a great opportunity for us. What it means is that Rockfire will have revenue, and that's important. It's important for investors. A lot of investors say, how are you going to monetize Rockfire, Dave? And this is precisely how we intend to do that. And buying a business that is profitable is a tremendous spot for us to be in, and a great opportunity, and something that we will absolutely put our best into. As you can see from the slide in front of you, Emirates is located in Dubai, of course, called the City of Gold for very good reason. Emirates has actually been operating for more than 25 years. It is a very well-renowned refinery throughout not only the Middle East, but also into Asia and Africa, of course. And they produce the finest quality of gold and silver bullion. They actually produce 99.9 purity of gold, which is a tremendous purity of gold. Of course, you can't get any more pure than that. And it produces not only gold bars and silver bars, but also coins, metals, and of course, corporate branding gold ingots and memorabilia. So that's a wide range of products that the refinery actually creates. So I wanted to show you a quick video now, just before we go on through this presentation. And the video shows the Emirates Gold, the refinery, and it'll give you a flavour for what's ahead for Rockfire. So that's pretty exciting video. The next slide there, as you can see, I'll bring that up, is of course the gold, and Emirates is committed to get to the highest business standards, compliance, ethics, and Rockfire takes that responsibility very, very highly. So it's important that responsible gold sourcing is something that is dear to all of our hearts at Rockfire and of course Emirates, and we continue to actually apply that responsible gold ethic to our work. As we go forward, of course, Rockfire management will become more involved with the refinery as our due diligence completes. And one of the most important aspects of where we are right now with Rockfire is, of course, our due diligence process. I'll show you the next slide here. The refining, of course, in the actual process, very important stage. There's extremely state-of-the-art refining and minting that's being done at Emirates Gold, and it's state-of-the-art stuff. So really good to have that quality. There's the quality of the minting. You can have a look at this as your leisure. Later, these slides will be available after this presentation. But there's some of the coins that they mint, and of course, they then go on to, I want to talk about now, about the actual the agreement itself. I think this is very important here. We are buying 100% of Emirates Gold and 99% of Impressive Bullion. Now, Impressive Bullion is actually the trading house, so the gold trading house associated with Emirates Gold. So we are buying two businesses for a total consideration of $20 million US. We've already acquired 10% of both of the companies with a $2 million deposit that we put down last week, and the remaining shares will be transferred on completion of the due diligence. There's a number of steps to go through in order to complete the transaction. One is, of course, we have to do due diligence on the two businesses, and that's a given. Now, the interesting thing about Emirates and Impress is that, of course, they are businesses that have suffered from a reputational damage due to previous owners of the company. And of course, the businesses themselves are very well run. We're not buying any distressed assets because it's a bad business or because they're actually running it badly. It's run very, very well. And the reason that we're buying this now is, of course, unwarranted reputation of previous owners of the company. So that's an opportunity for us. And as you can see, we do have to have a publication of admission document. Rockfire is currently in a suspension, and until we complete the admission document and we actually hold a general meeting of our shareholders, then completion will take place. So we hope that you'll all participate in that general meeting, which will be announced as we progress. And as I mentioned, the due diligence is well on track. And we have accountants and lawyers and advisors coming at our ears at the moment, as you'd expect with a transaction of this size. And so we're going through all of that at the moment. A lot of people ask how long that will take. And I guess that sort of process is something it's hard to put a time limit on. In experience from the London Stock Exchange previously, other people have had experiences with this, and they say anywhere between 2 and 8 months, that sort of time frame. So it's a moving target, and unfortunately, I can't be more specific on that at this time. But what I can guarantee is that we're working as hard as we possibly can. We've got lots and lots of people working on this, and it will be completed as quickly as we can. And that's probably the only assurance I can provide at this point in time. Of course, we need regulatory approvals. Now, the regulatory approvals are not only in London, but of course in the UAE as well. So there's a process to go through. And one of the critical things is Emirates to be reinstated on the UAE Good Delivery list. Now, that's a certification of the gold, and that's something that we're keen to get back as quickly as we possibly can. And that's something that we're working hard on. We need to satisfy the due diligence on the two businesses, as mentioned earlier. We're proposing a fundraise of £14.7 million approximately, and that will be to complete the remaining 90% acquisition of the companies. So we already have binding but conditional subscription agreements for that entire amount, which is tremendous to have that in place already. So we have some tremendous people with really great vision to be able to assist us with this. And it's the belief and the vision of where we can take Rockfire that is really exciting to people. So we're looking at a company that will have cash flow, positive cash flow, and we will be looking at other projects as well. And I think this is also important, is that part of the strategy for building a vertically integrated gold company, which includes exploration and mining of gold, bringing new clients in with sourcing of gold for the refinery, then minting of the product. We also have of course the trading, the gold trading. So it's a gold focused company, and it's something that we're very excited about. You can see there the final bullet point. Gordon Hart and David Price have joined the management team of the target companies already. We've spent a bit of time in Dubai recently and plan to be spending a bit more time there going forward. So Rockfire is tremendously well placed. It's a great story. This is only a very short presentation because I wanted to bring everybody up to date and explain that RNS a little bit more, because I have had some questions about that. So look, feel free to email. You can see there the info@rockfire.co.uk. That will come to me, and I'll be able to answer any questions that you might have going forward. So that's really all I wanted to say today. Unfortunately, I can't say too much more because we are in suspension. We do have a lot of due diligence going on, and there's a lot of activity and work going on in the background. Everybody's very busy to get this completed, and I apologize that I can't be more specific on some of the details, but I hope that brings you up to date with where we are and some of the reasoning behind it and where we expect Rockfire to be going, and it's very exciting.
That's fantastic, David. Thank you indeed for the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, do please continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab just situated on the right-hand corner of the screen. Just while David takes a few moments to review those questions submitted already, I'd like to remind you the recording of the presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. David, I appreciate, obviously, you're in a position where you can't answer everything that comes through, but if you wouldn't mind, just click on that Q&A tab, and where appropriate to do so, if you could just read out the question and give your response, and we'll pick up from you at the end. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. I'll just quickly find this answer to this one for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, do bear with me 1 second. As David just disconnected, we'll have him back in 1 moment. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, do bear with me. David's just reconnecting, and we'll have him back in 1 moment just to answer your questions. So please continue to submit your questions just using the Q&A tab situated in the right-hand corner of the screen. Type in your question and press send. As soon as David's back in, we'll cut through those questions. Thank you. David, thanks. I can see you just reconnecting there. Let's just pop on your mic and camera, continue through, and we'll start the Q&A. Thank you. and gentlemen, just bear with me. David just reconnecting now, and we'll have him back with you in one moment. David, we've got you back. Hi, you okay? You can hear us okay?
Sorry about that. I just had to duck off for a quick cup of coffee. I hope you guys did too. So anyway,
fantastic. So David, if you just click on that Q&A tab just on the right-hand corner of your screen, and just start at the top, read out the question where appropriate to do so, and I'll pick up from you at the end.
Yeah, sure, no worries.
Thank you.
So the question here, with China banning exports of germanium and gallium, where does the EU stand in supporting Rockfire's end goal? Is there a certain threshold of market cap we need before we're noticed? So look, the answer to that is no, there's no threshold of market cap that's required for Rockfire to be noticed. In fact, we did a presentation a month ago in Athens, and I got my country manager to do that presentation in Greek. It went down extremely well. After his presentation, they actually had the Prime Minister was involved, and the local mayor was interviewed. So there's a lot of attention on Rockfire in Greece and Europe generally. So, of course, you're quite right. Europe is actually looking for its own domestic sources of germanium and gallium particularly, and we're very fortunate to have that at Molyte. And that's something that we're very conscious of, is that the gallium and the germanium actually add tremendous value to the actual zinc equivalent grade. So it's somewhere between 35 and 40% uplift in the grade when you add in the germanium and the gallium. So it's really very good to have that there. There is a lot of exposure in Europe from the Greek press that Rockfire is part of there, and they get featured occasionally with the germanium. So we've got great support locally. We've got great support in Athens, and we're getting very much noticed in Europe already. So that's a really good thing from that point of view. On the Molyte project, from the next JORC upgrade, what's the predicted timeline for a completed feasibility study? So we're planning to be drilling for the rest of this year. That's the plan for Molyte, and that drilling will get us to indicated resources. So we'll lift the confidence in the resource from inferred to indicated. That's a very strategic part of the development of the project. Inferred resources cannot be used in feasibility studies. You can only use indicated resources. So the indicated resources is something that will be achieved by the end of this calendar year. And then we're planning to start our feasibility study early next year. Now, in Greece, the timeline is probably going to be 8 to 9, and it might stretch out to 12 months of feasibility. And that's fairly standard in most countries. You'll have quite a lengthy feasibility study. So I would expect that if all goes well, we probably have a completed feasibility study by the end of 2024. So I think that's something that is probably achievable and realistic. What are the opportunities to scale the gold business, and how profitable can you see it becoming? Well, that's a great question. The opportunities to scale the gold business are huge, actually. And one of the things that we're planning already is that we will look at taking more offtake agreements from operating gold mines, and particularly from Africa, from Asia, from Europe. There's probably 3, possibly 4 refineries already in Australia, but there's few and far between these refineries, and Dubai is perfectly placed for this. The situation in Dubai and its geographical position is outstanding. So it's something that we will work very hard at, and I anticipate that we'll be looking at visiting lots and lots of mines and getting their offtake agreements to be able to buy their doré and refine it in Dubai. So that's something we will work very hard at. So the opportunity for scaling is fantastic. On the other end of things, with the actual supply to buyers of the gold, we'll also be looking at that. And we've got a couple of key people that will be joining us shortly, and they will be actually focused on building those new businesses of suppliers, of buyers, particularly throughout Europe. So that's something that is really exciting. So we've already discussed that opportunity. It is real opportunity. We are working hard towards that, and as we complete this transaction, that will become a strong focus, and we'll work very hard on that. So that's something there. So I'm just going through some of the questions. Will trading be suspended for the 2 to 8 months mentioned? Look, that's something that is still up in the air, and the 2 to 8 months is quite a wide window. I appreciate that, and it all depends on the due diligence process. The AIM documentation is something that can be done reasonably standard. The documentation, it's a known path. What is unknown, of course, is the due diligence. So that's something that will take the time, and it's something that we are already working very hard on, and that's something that is worth keeping in mind. And I'm sorry I can't be a bit more specific on that timing. I hope you understand why. What did the previous owners do wrong? Well, actually nothing. The previous owners were falsely accused of a number of things, and I'm not going to go into that because, quite frankly, it's none of my business. I'm not going to be anywhere near the previous owners. In fact, the previous owners aren't anywhere near it at the moment. So poor old Emirates Gold has suffered a reputational damage, and we're planning to, of course, buy those assets, and that will mean that there's no longer the previous owners or even the current owners involved in that business. We will own it 100%. So I don't want to delve too much into that. It's something that's in the past, and in fact, whatever they were accused of, my understanding is that it's fairly unwarranted anyway. So I won't go too much more into that. What are the net assets of Emirates? That's about $41 million of net assets, I understand. Molai, can you say what tonnage of zinc makes the mine economically viable? We're actually looking at about 400,000 tons of zinc equivalent. So the 400,000 tons of zinc equivalent is about 10-year mine life, operating at 4 million ounce resource. And that's 40,000 ounces tons per year, and that's something that is, in our mind, a fairly realistic size for Rockfire. And it also is the right size for the deposit. You have to make sure that you've got the right size plant for the size of your deposit. There's a lot of companies that build very impressive and very large plants and then fail to feed the plant. So the objective is to make sure that we can feed the plant. And in order to ensure that we can feed the plant, we make sure that the plant is suitably sized for the deposit. So that's something that we can work on as well. Do we have a view on the JORC upgrade at Moly? Are there any further news on EU funding for the germanium? Look, the JORC upgrade is up in the air because I'm not really sure how much of that indicated resource will go how much of that inferred resource will go into the indicated category, and I think I'd be a bit misleading if I tried to put some figures on that at the moment, to be honest with you. It's something that will come out with the work that SRK is doing for us. So we have a very reputable company that's doing that work for us to be able to bring that up. And that's something that we certainly will keep the market informed once we know those numbers. Again, I'm sorry I can't be more specific, but I have to be careful about how much of that inferred will actually end up in the indicated category. So about that. So that's the end of the questions, and thank you for the questions. Feel free, as I mentioned, to send any further questions to info@rockfire.co.uk, and I'd be very happy to answer them for you.
David, thanks very much indeed for the presentation and for addressing those questions. And of course, any further questions that come through, as David said, we'll be able to get those to David for his review and publish back out. David, just before we redirect investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to you and the team, could I just ask you just for a few closing comments, please?
Sure. Look, as I mentioned before, Rockfire is moving from a very small explorer of zinc and gold and copper and silver to actually a gold refiner with cash flow, and that's something that will, I hope, be reflected in the share price. I think that it will be, and that's up to when we actually come out of suspension, is when the reality will actually set in and people can actually start to trade. So I think people will become excited as they learn this story. And as I mentioned earlier, probably the best thing is that we can build Emirates Gold to be a global provider of really high purity gold. And that's something that we're focused on and something that we will be working hard to achieve.
David, that's fantastic. Thanks again for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close the session? You should be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order David and the team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete and is greatly valued by the company. On behalf of David and the team at Rockfire Resources PLC, we'd like to thank you for today's presentation and good morning to you all.
Thank you.